Hi everyone, I'm Eric.
And I'm Christopher.
And we're Grow For Me 5B. Today we're going to take you on a full November garden tour. Well, hi everyone. Welcome to our November garden tour here at Grow For Me 5B in upstate New York. We are a Zone 5B garden, which means this time of year in November, our garden is going to sleep. But we still want to take you on a tour, show you what we've got going on, so you can follow along with the progress every month through every season. So right here we have one of my absolute favorite types of hydrangeas, an oak leaf hydrangea. And this is a Gatsby pink oak leaf from Proven Winners Color Choice Shrubs. My number one favorite thing about this oak leaf hydrangea is the fall color. The leaves turn this beautiful dark burgundy color. It's fantastic. When you go to the garden center, you might see them in their cans, not looking so great, but once you get them in the ground, they grow quickly, they fill out beautifully. They do bloom on old wood, so we don't want to prune them at all. But this gets part sun, part sun, because it gets sun all the way until about 1 or 2
o'clock
during the growing season. So yeah. Moving on down, we have our Teasing Georgia Rose. This is a David Austin climber. We will be taking it off of this trellis and putting it on a larger trellis. It's definitely outgrown it in just one season. Very vigorous. And in front of it, you can see our Let's Dance Sky View. Oh, and a garden glove.
And a garden glove.
But this is our Let's Dance Sky View. We're doing nothing to protect them. We are testing it. We're trialing it to see what happens with Let's Dance Sky View. That's supposed to be one of the most prolific rebloomers of the Let's Dance series. Winter structure becomes so necessary this time of year. And you can see we've got sprinter boxwoods dotted about throughout the garden on this side of the yard. And we have our columnar Scotch pine. This is about as wide as it's going to get. And hopefully it'll get nice and tall up to that window and fill in that spot underneath that window.
Yeah, I think it was somewhere between 12 and 14 feet we're hoping that it gets to.
I think I might have some microphone flopping issues, so I'll try and hold my jacket like
Hold
this.
the jacket together.
Another sprinter boxwood and our Brandywine viburnum, which we're hoping is going to get nice and big and fill in this whole space, which it should, right?
Yes, it'll be a nice cover for that beautiful air conditioning unit right behind you.
I know. This gets about 6 to 8 feet tall and wide. So really when we planted it, we were picturing this like big shrub with this amazing fall color. Again, another great fall color. We've had quite a few deep freezes though.
Yeah, we've had a couple
so far
deep freezes, and we did get the beautiful berries on that, and the birds picked them clean.
So even though we've had quite a few deep freezes, and the high today I think is 31, it's still got leaves going strong. Another bright piece of evergreen right here is our Hinoki cypress.
Yeah, I like that one. We're not training it to be tall or wide or whatever. Yeah. We're just going to let it do its thing, see what it does. It's fun.
We're just leaving it, and it's underneath this pollarded willow, which Christopher will do a video on soon.
In springtime. We'll do in spring. We're going to cut this and do the pollarding, a really cool technique for willows.
Yeah. And you can see underneath this willow, there is more evergreen in the hellebore market. All of our hellebores come from Trader Joe's. They usually have them around like Easter time. And so we just go buy them and then wait till the ground is thawed and then we can plant them in the ground. So all of our hellebores are Trader Joe's.
Eric, what is that really cool foliage I can't see from this far? The kind of burgundy foliage.
This one right here?
Yeah.
This is a Virginia.
Oh, it's the Miss Piggy Virginia. I didn't realize it had a fall color.
It seems like it has a fall color. And we do have some hellebores blooming right now, which is very out of season.
Yeah, that's very strange. But we'll take it.
Yeah.
Really pretty.
Christopher, if you back up, we can show one of my favorite winter interest moments in the garden is this beautiful Royal Frost birch tree.
The Royal Frost is really pretty. It's a hybrid of, I think, one of the Himalayan birches and purple or red birch. So we get really best of both worlds. We get the white bark and we get dark foliage.
And that white bark stands out beautifully this time of year. So coming through our little stone pathway here, to my left, your right, is our hydrangea room, which we just planted a couple months ago. This was an end of season install. And it's a mix of Incredible White, Incredible Blush, Invincible Ruby, Invincible Lace, and Invincible Sublime.
This is going to be really beautiful. Different color blooms, different kind of textures of blooms. It will be really, really a showstopper, and it will almost make it to the top of the fence once they're full size.
Yes, the hydrangeas in the back should get about 5 feet tall at their max maturity. Over here, we have another sprinter boxwood, repeating that texture throughout the garden. A small hedge of Invincible Rubies, another sprinter boxwood, another sprinter boxwood. So you can see there's a lot of repetition. During the height of the growing season, you don't necessarily see these sprinter boxwoods. But this time of year, you do. You may also notice that there's a lot of leaves in our garden beds. We're going to leave them there. They're going to help protect things over the winter. We are going to just compost right over those leaves in the spring. Unless it's like there's been some sort of infestation or some sort of disease or anything like that. If there was, those leaves would get removed like we did on the Limelight hedge. So, anchoring this back corner for winter interest is our columnar Hetsy juniper. These stay pretty narrow. This is probably max width. And then it'll just keep getting taller. You'll notice that here on our trellis, or our garden Gothic Arch, we still have lots of foliage on our generous gardener roses.
And the clematis also has leaves on it. That's kind of funny.
I mean, it's very surprising, but look at these hips from the generous gardener. Very nice. There has been some deer coming through. We've tried Bobex, and it seems to be working. So we're probably due for another application.
Continuing along past the hydrangea room, we have a dwarf mugo pine. Came from Costco. I bought it in a 3-pack, so along the way you'll see 2 more of them. This one's doing the best. It's in a really great place. And yes, I have heard they can get massive, but this spot right here, there's quite a bit more room than you think, because perennials, I don't mind moving a little bit.
But also, we'll prune it and or move it if it gets too fast.
It's fine. I love them. They're really nice.
Part of the fun of gardening is experimenting.
We have a gold cone juniper that's done beautifully for us. It's one of the funniest stories of our gardening journey. When we bought this, it was a clearance plant, and Eric thought it was a weeping juniper. Turns out it was just really not a happy plant. And over the last 2 or 3 years, this has put on a ton of growth. It's filled out beautifully, and it does put on a really nice gold show with its new growth. And then along our west border, we have 2 emerald green arborvitaes that flank the Tromner spruce, the hybrid of the blue spruce and Serbian spruce. So without leather gloves on, this is the most prickly spruce I think that we have. Beautiful blue color, kind of a wild habit, and it puts on considerable growth. As you can see here, probably 24 inches just in 1 year.
I would say it took a couple years to get established, though, before it put on any growth.
It did, but once it did, it got real happy. And this has all the room it needs to get to its max maturity. You might notice that some of our garden art pieces are still in the garden. We don't like baby princess plants, and we don't like baby princess garden art. This has stayed out over the winter last year, and it did just beautifully, so it will continue to, as well as all of our trellises and arches and all of that. As we move along the border, you can see some Pinky Winky and Quickfire hydrangeas. We've left these blooms on. They're just, they're lacy and papery, and they'll fall right off, and they also won't really get damaged by heavy snow. We've got Serendipity Allium and Autumn Joy Sedum that we leave for bird foraging, which we actually have seen quite a few birds on here. And once they kind of flop and get crushed by snow, sometimes in the winter we sneak out and clean them up early. There's another Sting Arborvitae, and this collection of perennials that you see up, these are mostly natives that are great for bird foraging. We have some Agastache.
It's a mix, right, of blue boa and crazy fortune.
Over there we have Cinderella milkweed and some native bee balm. There's a winterberry that has just a few berries left on it. We thought we might get to decorate with them this year.
No, the birds went right after
The birds went right after it. Up here, I don't know if we've ever even mentioned this since we started. This is a white spruce. It's a very happy white spruce. When we first moved in, this was planted about 8 feet away from the corner of our front foundation where we have our tricolor beach. So one of the first things we learned at the garden center when we showed them the front of our house was dig that up and move that away from your foundation as fast as possible. So we did, and it's been very happy here on the berm. It's great. It just gives us a beautiful green winter interest once the leaves fall off of this bald cypress.
These sticks sticking up right here are our hardy hibiscuses, and those we leave up until the spring.
Some leaves are left here on this hedge of mini mauvettes. And then again, there's some more of the serendipity allium, some roses that haven't fully lost their leaves yet. But everything is kind of on schedule.
So on this side of our garden arch, we have a little bit of a shady area underneath this pagoda dogwood. And behind the Hetzi columnar juniper, you'll see another Gatsby pink oak leaf hydrangea back there. It's a little bit further along and dropping its leaves than the one up front. And then we have a Dandy Man color wheel rhododendron.
Yes, which is evergreen.
Yeah, and that's our only rhododendron in our garden. Lady's mantle underneath, doing a very nice job. Our hostas have been cut back. And look at the structure on our Ruby Falls weeping redbud.
I'm going to get in close here. This is wild to look at.
Yeah, it'll get some pruning. I think there's definitely some branches.
Some congestion,
yeah,
maybe.
Some congestion will prune out. I don't like the look of the weepy Ruby Falls redbud when it's like super heavy, thick with leaves. I want to see some of that branching and structure.
I feel like when you do that, it also doesn't look so much like Snuffleupagus. Yeah. I've seen them where they just look like a big pile of leaves. Like a big pile.
Yeah, and we don't want that. We want to see that structure. So we'll do some pruning on that in the spring. In front of it is our Invincible Sublime hedge, which was a huge success for us this year. There are 6 of them here. They are about 2.5 to 3 feet on center, which is maybe a little snug, but because they are a smoothleaf hydrangea, they're just going to merge into one giant beautiful hedge, and it'll be no problem for them. Our catmint, our Walker's Little catmint, has all been cut back, and Lady of Shalott is still super healthy, glossy green leaves at the end of November.
It's funny. Some of the plants in our garden just didn't get the memo.
I mean, it might be a little protected. Maybe that stone absorbs heat. Midnight Wine Shine Weigelas down front. Sprinter boxwoods on the edge, and our fountain has been put away for the winter. To my right over here is a mirror of Sprinter boxwoods, and then heading back this way is Midnight Wine Shine again, so they kind of mirror each other. Capped off with another Sprinter. My favorite evergreen in the garden probably is our Weeping White Spruce. They grow very slowly. It has beautiful pine cones on it, which I'm really excited about.
I do think this has the cutest pine cones.
It really is a beautifully structured evergreen. Does it need to be staked? No. We have it staked maybe for one more winter, and then next spring we'll take the stake off. Next to that is a grouping of Tottering by Gently roses. These are another David Austin English rose. It's supposed to be known for its hips. The hips are looking nice, but as you can see, it did get eaten quite a bit by deer.
Jerks.
Yeah. And then our Let's Dance Skyview hedge down here. Again, we're leaving them unprotected because we want to see what happens over the winter. Are those buds hard enough to survive our winter? I think so. And they're supposed to be really good at reblooming. So we'll see how it does.
We're going to get flowers one way or the other.
Yeah, we'll get flowers either way. Midnight Masquerade Penstemon in the center. I think it looks beautiful at the time of year when it blooms. We might have another idea for that spot, though.
Something winter interesting, maybe?
Perhaps. This right here is our Jardin Tower trellis that we installed for our Sensation honeysuckle, which still has a flower on it, oddly enough, and is still bright green and healthy.
And is now also joined by some cafe lights.
Oh, yeah. Christopher added some lights on here.
And honestly, it looks a little silly during the day, but wait till you see it at night.
Our lambs here got cut back, but it's starting to grow back. Foxgloves that were on their first year, so next year we'll get blooms.
Yes, those are all the new plants that grew up next to the old.
Sprinter boxwoods capping off the edge underneath a black gum tree. I love this tree.
Here we have 3 steady Eddy viburnum, which are almost in constant bloom throughout the year. They're not a big hit in the fall for fall color, but structure-wise, I gotta say, these are very interesting. There's something really cool about the structure of them to look at right now. So I'm very pleased with this. These are going to get about 4 by 4. And yes, we do plant on the close side, but how lush will this look when you've got these beautiful Boscabel corally roses up against the white blooms? And then right here is a tater tot arborvitae, which is going to be beautiful winter interest. And it'll take its time, but it will get to about 18 inches tall and wide and be a beautiful little tater tot in the garden. And that makes me want tater tots for lunch.
Yeah, that was planted as a quart
size.
Yeah, I got it last November.
Yes.
When we went to Proven Winters.
And you put it in your suitcase.
Yeah, I put it in my carry-on.
I love that.
And brought it home.
You'll see some of these chicken wire cages. These are around Snowfire aronia, a plant that is so beautiful. I am willing to give it one more season of fighting against every animal in nature seems to want to eat these guys, but they have beautiful fall color, beautiful berries, beautiful leaves, and the beautiful flowers. Like, they really are a 4-season kind of plant. So I want to make the Snowfire aronia live.
This is a try it now that we have that Bobex.
Yes, we're gonna
maybe we'll spray that diligently.
Maybe I'll get a cage. I'll cage them. It'll be so beautiful.
I don't want a cage. No.
Here we have 7 reminiscent pink roses. This was a new introduction from Proven Winners that started slow. A few of them have stayed on the small side, but these canes are beautiful. They're powerful, very, very sturdy in just one season. Really, really aggressive thorns on this, but the color is a beautiful pink, lots and lots of petals. It gives a little nod towards our other favorite David Austin roses, and it's beautiful that in the Proven Winners series, we know they're going to be nice and hardy for us. We move along here. We have a clematis on the Essex square trellis. This one got the memo about what season it was. It's got its leaves all finished for the season. Ancient Mariner, a David Austin rose, probably one of our most photographed items in the entire garden. When this puts out a full inflorescence of blooms, it is a stunner. Also smells phenomenal. Capped off here with a Sprinter boxwood. Here, this is the this is the plant we are the most excited about for next year. Tough stuff, top fun. This is a new hydrangea.
It looks so terrible in the
camera. Look absolutely
like a pile of
ridiculous. But imagine the way that we planted it. They should just go about 6 inches beyond the edge over the stone when they're at their full maturity, covered in lace cap blooms. We're going to shoot for more of a bluish lavender tone with them by adding in soil acidifier. If you get in really close, you can already see next year's buds are beautifully formed on the sides here. I'll put it up against the back of my glove. They're there. So we'll keep an eye on these, see if these turn black and die off during the winter time. But I have high hopes that these are going to stay nice and strong through the winter and give us an early round of blooms. But worst comes to worst, we will get the rebloomers later on in the season.
So we only put our bird feeder out in the winter time because during the garden and growing season, we really want the birds to be in our garden, you know, eating the bugs, doing their thing that they do. And then in the winter, we give them some bird seed. This is a squirrel-proof bird feeder, which means that if a squirrel gets on here, it closes at the bottom, or a really heavy bird or a pest. Well, not a pest bird. I don't feel like any birds are pests, really.
I think blue jays will lower it.
Blue jays or anything over a certain weight will lower it. But yeah, that's our bird feeder.
They've been eating a lot too. And I did see a comment when you first put the bird feeder out that we would get lots of weeds right at the base of it. But I think that we were okay. I didn't see a lot of weeds this past year.
Yeah, I mean, also we treat our lawn for weeds, so if they're right here, I don't.
Yeah, it's all right.
That's what happened. Worth the price. Our Princeton Century ginkgo right here. It's its first season off of its stake, so it's got a little lean, but I think it'll self-correct. So if you look at the berm all the way down, you're going to see the repetition of the green giant arborvitaes. This is great evergreen interest, great screening. We really wanted our berm to have a natural transition from our garden into the woods behind it. Green giant arborvitaes are a great choice. They're very, very easy to shear. They take very well to pruning and reshaping. So we can always get in there and reshape if things get too crowded. We can move things. But I love the repeated pattern of them. And we didn't want to do a straight line because we wanted that more natural flow.
Right. If we had wanted something a little bit more structured, we would have had the fence go across the back.
We have our birch trees with their beautiful bark and our sea spray junipers down here. These were originally in our foundation bed where our boxwoods are now. So we took those, put them back here, and put the boxwoods up front. We've cut back some of our ornamental grasses that get too large so that when the snow comes, they flop. You'll see some of that later in the garden up front. Another boxwood. This is just a Korean boxwood from Costco. Our hedge, our mugo, a dwarf mugo pine repeated here. I think this one is a little deep. After we planted it, I think we've had some erosion of compost and mulch, and it's gotten a little deep. So we'll have to take care of that next spring. Look at this grass. Look at this seed head. This is the Adagio, right?
Yes, Adagio miscanthus.
Yeah, fantastic. A repeated boxwood here. Green giants, sea spray junipers repeated 3 times throughout. Boxwoods are repeated 3 times throughout. And so if you just kind of scan, Christopher, from here to there, you're going to see the river birches are repeated 3 times. The sea spray junipers are repeated 3 times. The boxwoods are repeated 3 times. There's a lot of repetition, which brings a nice cohesiveness to the design.
Oh, and suddenly in the frame,
our paperbark maple.
The cinnamon peeling bark.
Yeah, not great fall color for us this year, though. And then over here, to cap off the berm, is our black pussy willow.
Eric, do you think we're going to cut this to the ground next year or let it go?
I'm torn. I know if we cut it to the ground, it'll just come right back to this size. I don't know. I think it depends on what we're going to do here. I think something has to happen here where this connects to here.
Yeah.
But we also have drainage going through here, so we have to take that into consideration. So this corner is going to undergo some changes. We'll see what happens. But I also want to point out in the back corner back there is a Norway spruce.
That Norway spruce was also in our original planting package. Not so close to the house, but very close to our magnolia up front.
Yeah.
And it has grown very quickly.
So that's the berm. I'm really happy with how the berm came out. I'm debating whether we should add some more trees on the berm behind the green giants, but in front of the edge of the woods.
We have a bald cypress and a catalpa right now.
I know. I was thinking maybe, you know how they have those like just treelings at Home Depot or something that are very small? If we got some natives that were fast growers.
Maybe a red maple.
Yeah. I mean, just a mix of things just to kind of fill in that berm.
Here we are at the elevated raised beds or elevated planter boxes, which I believe is the proper term when you're shopping. I'm overwintering some of these sedum that I got at clearance. I just hilled them in or, just sort of buried them in their containers. They're already solid. Wow, that is fast. But I know with the zone that these sedums take, these should be fine, and then we'll get them planted in the spring. There's also some strawberries that I had propagated. We'll see how those do. Not so sure about them. This area is going to have a little bit of a change, not so much in the layout, but in the size layout. If you notice, they're a little further away from the pathway. than they are from that edge. So we're just gonna kind of expand everything, give ourselves a little more walking space, a little more breathing room, because we've discovered that we really enjoy planting in these. So we want to be able to really get in there and take care of these plants. So if we follow this path out and I don't slip on these boots, which are slippery, we have the 2 sprinter boxwoods that flank here. This is wrapped with some flavorette honey apricot roses. These are new proven winners where the petals are actually edible. And they did get more flavorful as the plant aged. We'll see how they do next year. Really, really pretty. This Jardin birdcage, the 36-inch size, has a bunch of Stand By Me lavender bush clematis. And that's going to be really cool because with the size of them, you'll still be able to see the metal structure, but they'll keep those bush clematis from flopping all over the place. This is the smallest panicle hydrangea on the market, the tiny quickfire. That's, oh, I just love these. These were so fun. They had great color this year. Winter interest for days. The Japanese white pine. I feel like every garden needs one of these. Again, with the really cool pine cones, very unique growth habit.
And it is extremely slow growing.
Yes, I think it only grew about 4 or 5 inches
max. I mean,
since we got
closer to 2 or 3.
Yeah, I mean, the structure is so beautiful. Eventually, this will get 10 feet tall. It might just take 20 years. And we move along here. There's some spirea. This is a sting arborvitae. We have another one over there. These are going to grow kind of like an Italian cypress, about a foot wide and straight up 10 or 14 feet, I believe. I love this, and I cannot wait to see this at its full height. It will remind us of Tuscany and all those beautiful Italian cypress groves that they have. We wrapped all of our trees kind of in sprinter boxwoods just to give not just formality, but almost more of a border and a capping of this bed. And everything else is just kind of on schedule. The Eustacia vi roses have mostly defoliated. Here's another tater tot that's just hanging out.
Also brought home on a carry-on.
Yep, another one of those sting arborvitaes.
And we have our crop coop out. There is nothing under it. It's just for winter interest and decor at this point, but we kind of reserved that spot for some crops.
Yeah, we've done corn there. The corn is just fun to grow. Like non-farmers in a suburban new construction lot, corn and potatoes, what a hit.
I mean, yeah, the potatoes and the corn were our most successful.
They were so much fun.
There's another repeated sprinter boxwood.
Yep.
And a fake stone. That stone houses electrical for
Yes.
for the patio.
Yes, which I have to remember to get to because one of our arches is not currently lit. This is a Diana contorted larch. Once these deciduous needles fall off, you really can see the contortions in these branches.
Oh yeah, let me zoom in close.
If you get in really close here, look at how cool these contortions are. But somehow it knows to go up, which is fascinating to me. The main leader is relatively straight. And it does have a nice yellow color.
The other structure I'm noticing right here is the Runkus grass, the blue mohawk.
Oh yeah, these did quite well for us this year. This is something that's often sold as an annual for us, but turns out it's a perennial. So this came back from last year, did really, really well. We're not going to cut this back until the springtime. I believe there is a good reason not to, and I can't remember what that is right now. Just because I know there was a reason certain grasses didn't get cut back. I think it was maybe soft grasses or evergreen grasses like carex and Runkus. You don't cut back right away. You cut them in the spring. But I'm going to verify that.
And another sprinter box. Right here is another one of our shade areas. It kind of starts, behind this path to our hose and water and stuff. Spilled wine Weigela to mirror the midnight one shines over yonder. There's also more spilled wine over there. So again, that repetition throughout the garden helps with design. We have Gatsby Moon oak leaf hydrangeas back there, and these are going to get much larger. What I'm hoping happens is that they just merge into one big beautiful lump of gorgeous full blooms. Between them, planted specifically for the wintertime when the foliage falls off of the oak leaves, is a grouping of hellebores. Everything else under here has been cut back, waiting for these leaves to finish falling so we can remove them because they did have a little fungus. But that's it for this shaded area. Our terrace has basically been put away. We're leaving out the blue moffat juniper, and we are leaving the North Pole arborvitaes for a little winter interest on the terrace. So you may have recently seen our video where we came through and deadheaded these hydrangeas, and then we very meticulously raked them out because we did experience some mite damage this season. So we probably are due to come through and rake out again shortly because there are more leaves in here. We don't want the mites to overwinter under the debris. So we're trying to maintain this one very meticulously. But yeah, this is our Limelight hydrangea hedge. They are planted 5 feet on center, 4 feet from the property line. And we'll go through in the spring and really give an in-depth pruning explanation. Emily Bronte, Parkland Pillar Birch. We leave the bird bath out. I mean, maybe we probably shouldn't, but we just do. And it's been fine so far. And this is a really cool evergreen for winter interest. This is a blue feather hinoki cypress. And it's just a great color and great texture.
It's taken on a lot of green for this time of year, which is very nice.
Yeah.
It's grown quite well. I think it put a little sphere size on.
Yeah, capping off the Limelight hedge is another Sprinter boxwood, another emerald green, and our Woollerton Old Hall, another David Austin rose.
Back to this side, we have a Ember Waves Western Arborvitae, which does have a really beautiful golden color to it. This will get quite large. It is properly placed away from the house for its size, but eventually this will create a nice tall evergreen structure for us on this side of the house. When we first started planting here, not knowing all of the ins and outs of planting, we had just one evergreen, a forsythia, and a lilac for our height. And we have a very large side of the house that doesn't have a lot of interest with windows and stuff. So we're placing plants in that we know are going to give us that structure. And this is going to be great because it'll give us that height in the winter time as well. This forsythia that we every couple years will cut to the ground right after its bloom and let it flush back. So
yeah, this spring it's due for a cutback.
Yeah, it's going to be cut all the way to the ground, and it will come back very strong and have beautiful blooms for us again next year. To this side of our little stone pathway is the Vanderwolf pine, which is huggable. It has bicolor needles. It's so lovely. It had a little bit of a struggle with its leader a few years ago, but thankfully it has chosen a new leader, as you can see, and it's going to reestablish that columnar form. I'm just excited as this grows to see what it does for us. It's just a really, really pretty tree. I think everyone should have a Vanderwolf pine. The next piece of winter interest, and probably actually the newest winter interest in this garden besides those little Danica arbs, is this Hollywood juniper. In our area, junipers thrive like nobody's business. So this will get a really wild habit, nice and tall, nice and full, with this gorgeous green color throughout the entire season. It's also going to look really pretty with the variegated foliage of the Shiloh Splash River Birch. This obviously has lost all of its leaves, but it is taking on a little bit of a peeling bark at this point. It grows in some cases kind of like a really big shrub. I'm not sure what we're going to do if we're ever going to pull out some of these lower branches. I think it depends on how much it fights with some of our lower stuff on the ground. Here's a little baby sprinter that'll catch up and continue with our sprinter repetition. These are another hydrangea, the Let's Dance Can Do. I see lots and lots of buds, and one of the features of the Can Do again is that it's going to get through the winter with those nice strong buds and give us beautiful blooms. A fun way to add winter interest with some whimsy involved is this weeping Norway spruce. My plan is to stake it to 10 or 12 feet. I'm going to wait till it gets there, and then once that, I mean, it'll always be somewhat staked to keep the vertical, but once the trunk is strong enough, I will let it start weeping from there. And we've pruned it selectively to start giving it a little bit more of a fun shape. And we'll see what we do over the years with it. Over here is a transplanted blue point juniper. There are 2 of them that we had in our containers this past year, and they outgrew them. So they're placed here at the top of the fence line to kind of cap it off and welcome you into the backyard on both sides. They've done great. This is going to be a lot of fun to watch grow, especially once it puts on its berries. And then this is a Gabriel oak rose that did beautifully. I'll be coming in and doing a little bit of pre-winter cleanup on these, where I take off some of the tallest of the canes just to keep them from breaking from heavy winter snow and ice. This magnolia that we get to enjoy and watch the fuzzy buds get through the winter.
It's so budded up already.
I know. It's going to be so beautiful this year. Jane magnolia. It's not the same size as a saucer magnolia.
Branches.
Yeah. But this is going to be in for the prune. It's going to look real crazy once we're done pruning it. We are going to bring this into a true 3-stem tree. By doing that, we're going to end up taking this entire branch out. We're going to be taking this whole branch out. It's going to be a little leggy and weird to begin with, but you got to be able to mow around your garden. And also, I feel like this bed itself has gotten a little too big. So we'll tighten this bottom up and then just let it grow into a huge vase-shaped tree with 3 really strong, healthy trunks.
So if you look behind me on either side of the driveway, at the top you can see winter gem boxwoods mirroring each other, and that was very intentional to give us that winter interest on each side of the driveway. You can also see 2 containers with some North Pole arborvitaes in them that look very sparse right now. Those are going to be added to maybe this weekend even, right?
Yeah, I think we might need to. They're kind of funny looking.
They look a little sad, but that's, you know, we're trying here. Up here, lots of winter interest in this Hetzi columnar juniper. This is also going to get a nice prune in the spring.
This is the same variety of tree that we have next to the Gothic Arch, but Eric has been pruning this to be tighter, and it looks wonderful.
In front of me, you can see what happens if we don't cut back ornamental grass after a little bit of snow, and this is a purple fountain grass. We'll get to that eventually. It is, you know, front and center, so we probably should have cut that one down first, but
that's okay. We'll get there.
Who knows? Wee whites over here, those are Invincible wee whites. Invincible Spirit 2s are in front of another hedge of winter gem boxwoods. Normally, we will spray our winter gem boxwoods that are facing south for the winter with, what is it called?
Wilt stop.
Wilt stop. And we didn't this year, so I'm interested to see if there's a big difference. Like maybe there'll be more bronzing since we didn't spray them. We just didn't get around to it.
Yeah, and now we're already at the point where we have those
Yeah, you can't spray it once it's freezing out. So we kind of missed the boat on that one. Right behind you, Christopher, is another trio of winter gem boxwoods. These were just planted a couple of years ago. You can see this one's already starting to burn out a little bit on the tips. And that's kind of what happens in our area because we get really warm, sunny days and then freezing temperatures.
And if you haven't noticed, everyone, it is windy here.
Yeah, we also live in a very windy area. More Invincible wee whites, river birches. This is a new gen boxwood. I believe it is Independence. So it stays a little bit, it's like the 2 to 3 foot range.
Okay.
I really am impressed with it. It's a very nice boxwood, very full and dense, and did not brown out or bronze out at all last season. Hetzi columnar juniper, Thin Man arborvitae, Spring Grove arborvitae. Also, a little winter interest up front here is our garnet stone. So having stones and boulders throughout your garden gives you some nice winter interest. Blue kazoo spireas. Behind that is our Invincible Spirit 2 hedge with the winter gem boxes behind that. Frederick is in our window. They enjoy this window because it faces south, so they kind of hang out in the window in the sun. So hello to Frederick. Firelight Tibet hydrangeas. These I don't worry about deadheading because the blooms are so crumbly that by the end of the season, these will be gone and blown away. So that's fine, leaving those up. Another winter gem to repeat. Our hedge of Walker's Oak Catman has been cut back. Vanessa Bell is looking beautiful, but starting to bronze, right?
Yeah, just a little bit of bronzing. It's pretty.
Underneath our tricolor beech. This is also a good time of year to kind of go around and assess, like, do things need to be cut back? Do they need to be pruned in the spring? Look at how tall the Vanessa Bells have grown. And it makes me think that in the spring, we should limb up our tricolor beech.
Yeah, you can tell that the branches are just connecting at this point. We need to get some airflow on those Vanessa Bells.
And not only, yeah, I mean, we want to have that. I like the visual space between the top of the roses and the bottom of the beech.
And also, in the edging world, you can see here, right where Eric's feet are, the Walker's Low Catman grew over that edge. And we've kind of started leaving a little bit of the mulch edge before the garden starts for a little contrast with the grass. So this edge is going to have to come out just a little bit next year.
Yeah. And then just to cap it all off and bring us back where we started, a winter gem boxwood popped in here before we get back to where we began. Well, thank you so much for joining us on our full November garden tour. Happy to have you. Again, I'm Eric.
And I'm Christopher.
And we're Grow For Me 5B.
Thanks for growing with us.